So I began painting heads. This is about 1990. I started doing these, and at the time I was in recovery, and so I wanted to do something where I could kind of do like a daily check-in and just kind of express my feelings and emotions. In recovery, they often want you to write about things, and I couldn't quite do that, but I found that painting was a good way of dealing with my feelings. So these are like some of them. They're oil on wood, and they're very immediate. I was doing, trying to do one a day. Sometimes I would do more than one, and sometimes I wouldn't do any. But the idea was to sort of do a daily check-in. And so this is sort of how the portraits kind of started. It started out as, no background, no hair, not really, they seem to be male, but they don't really have gender specific. They just, kind of beneath the skin is what I was going for, kind of more on an emotional, psychological level. And then, after 15 years, I had decided that I'd probably done, exhausted that. And so I took a little break. And then when I came back, I started doing these portraits. I wanted to work on hair and make them a little more pretty. And so I started making what I call the salon girls, and this is one of them, experimenting with brushes. I'd also only used knives in the other one, in the earlier head paintings, and trying to give them expression. And, they were mainly pictures of the kind of ideas that people wanted for their hair. I'm a hairdresser, and so these are like the pictures of people that, they like their hair. So I called them salon girls. And I did that for a while, and then I got to the point where I thought, well, I'm just painting pretty pictures, pretty girls. I wanted a little more edge to it, and so at the time I was watching a lot of horror movies, so I started making portraits of girls from horror movies. And I'll show you a couple of these. This is a more recent one, but this is the idea, and this one too. Just a little bit more macabre, but still hair, pretty, not a lot of background, just more like a sort of psychological space. It was what I was dealing with. And then after a while, I thought, well, I'm making all these paintings from horror movies. Why don't I make my own horror movie? So we had made a picture, or the starting of a movie called Murder in Modern Homes. And it was sort of off the cuff. We had gone to George and John's Neutra in Philadelphia, and it was Dahlia's birthday, my wife's best friend, and they decided to do a croquet match in drag. And I said, forget the croquet match, we got to make a horror movie. So we kind of came up with this off the cuff sort of idea, kind of using conglomerations of different horror movies. So this is me as a Vital Assassin, a take on Sassoon, and this concept that I had been using for quite a while of the sadistic hairdresser. And this came out in my performance piece, Electric Haircut, where I tape people up and cut their hair and amplify the sound. And those kind of ideas were rattling around in my head since I was in beauty school. So anyway, in this movie, Murder in Modern Homes, it's a lifestyles expose of modern homes, and the hairdresser hijacks the picture, doses the director, and he goes on a murder spree. Well, all the while, the hairdresser is dancing poolside. So that was the plot. You're gonna kind of loose, just some shots, and it was a lot of fun. And it allowed me to make, have costumes and different actions and do this. So that was the first picture. And then after that, I decided to make another picture, and it basically, let me show you this one here. These are the police women. And get over here a little bit. So my friend had bought this car. It's a Fiat, a 60s Fiat, and he turned it into a little police car. And I thought, well, this is great. We're going to take this police car and we're going to turn it into a movie. So the concept in this, and it kind of came about the same way. We just started making some shots, and then eventually a kind of theme developed. But there's these two bumbling thieves that decide they're being chased. They've robbed a bank or something, and they're being chased by the police women. And they decide that they're going to bury the money in the cemetery. When doing so, they release the vampires. So they're being chased by the vampires and by the police women, both on that kind of esoteric level and also on a reality level. So here's one of the vampires coming out of the grave, and police women, So during the pandemic, I was no longer able to really do a lot of things with other people, and making movies was sort of out for a while. So what I did was I would dress up my kids and family. We would, put on costumes, and I would take portraits, photographs of them. And that's Kay. And that's, that's my wife Heather there. And there's another one of Kay. And this is Kat as Bunny, which is a character from Five Nights at Freddy's. And here's me as Jack Tripper from Three's Company. So just putting on outfits and characters and kind of playing with that. Always like the theme of movies and the theme of putting on disguises and playing a part. I grew up outside of Hollywood, and the movies were very much a part of sort of everyday life. You go to the movies and you'd see, movie stars around and stuff like that. So I did that for a while, and then my next series I call Movie Stars or Method Actors and Methadonians. I wrote this story about my early days in New York, and my studio was across the street from the methadone clinic, and the folks, after they went to the clinic, would hang out, and they were like working on their hustles. They would act, and it was like a sort of actor's workshop. So I thought, it's very similar to like the high-end actors, and a lot of them have like very volatile personalities, just like our actors. And I particularly like 60s and 70s film. And so, this is like the time when I was growing up and the time that I was sort of around this stuff. And there's a certain nostalgia to it, and a certain, it's got like a purity that I really like. The character actors were really, into it. So this is a piece from my Movie Stars and Methadonians here, and we have Telly Savalas And I call that one Telly Before TV. So he's smoking a cigarette. It's before he gave up smoking. He was in a lot of Euro pictures, Giallo, things like that. And then we have Richard Burton, heavy-duty method actor, very intense personality. He could have been, you know, a drug addict or a movie star, you know. Peter Falk, also very intense. You know, we know him from Columbo, but he did a lot of work with Cassavetes and stuff like that, and a very intense, very talented actor. And this one here is, let me see if I can get it in the frame, but this is Klaus Kinski. And Klaus Kinski is also a very, you know, intense personality, plays intense roles and tough to deal with, and very, you know, he lived it, you know, very much like the others, very intense method style actor, living it, doing it. So, yeah, and then so recently I've made, starting some sort of new series. I did a piece on, this one is Lou Reed, along with my movie kind of stuff that I really like. I like the sort of New York underground, and yeah, Velvet Underground. You know, it gets better than that. So I got one of Lou Reed, and then here's a painting of me that is from an early studio that I have on Beale Street. And I've written some stories about that place, and then this is a portrait to kind of go with it. And here is a new one of Ian Curtis from Joy Division. Very kind of intense and you know, difficult character. All right, so that's a brief little visit in the studio here, and thank you.